Hey guys, Chris here. It is morning of day 6 of this flare up here. Sweetheart does not show signs of any bubbles this morning, which is a good thing. Again, it's been, many days of this. The vet is, however, coming out this morning, and hopefully we can really put our heads together and figure a little more as to what's going on with this mare, what some triggers could be, and what some other remedies and solutions might be to help her stay more comfortable. So again, I am excited to have the vet coming out this morning, and I'll keep you posted on what we determine. Things that I am wanting to ask the vet about. One, does she suspect all of this salivation and these bubbles and all this extra mucus and fluid is from the flare-up? I'm pretty sure it is. From what I've been reading, it seems like it's a pretty classic thing with asthma. And another question would be hay. Could the hay be the culprit? I have cut the hay out of her diet, and I haven't really seen that big of a decrease. The stalls, the dusty bedding and the extra hay for bedding, what's the likelihood that that could have been a trigger? But again, we removed all of that a few days ago, and she still continued to have these, symptoms. So those are some questions I have. Another question would be, after we remove something, a trigger, a potential trigger, how long do we need to have it sort of out of her system or away from her before we can really, gauge if that is or isn't a factor? That's a question. Some other questions surround medication. I'm not really happy with the Dex from a metabolic standpoint. I'm worried about founder and laminitis, but I also feel like it hasn't been working as well. So what are the next steps when it comes to a different type of medication? And what else do I want to ask the vet? Feeding her, with her weight, should I look to change her food to something different? Should we consider the pelleted hay versus, loose hay? Just lots of questions. And I'm hoping that the vet comes with just lots of really great ideas, because I feel I'm kind of running out of things to try. And so I'm really hoping that she comes and really brings me some new things to try out. A big question I have for the vet surrounds the stalls, right? I feel they're pretty ventilated because the front doors are all open. I have that window, the big window that's cut into the far stall on the end here, the second stall. We currently do not have any bedding of any kind in here. It's totally bare. It's as clean as I could get it, and so should this be suitable? Another question I have though is, well, what if this isn't a barn-related allergy or even a feed-related allergy, such as hay or grain? What if this is actually a pasture issue? What if I have a certain grass or weed that's growing? How do I determine what that is and if that's a trigger? So I don't know if they do allergy testing in horses like we do with people, but there are just so many different things that this could be. And until we figure out what the triggers are, we're going to constantly be bumping up against this. So not only do we need to determine what the triggers are and how to kind of mitigate those, but we also need to figure out a better medication plan that seems to give her a little more relief, that hopefully does not have the same metabolic impact as this current medicine could potentially have. So lots of questions. Another question I have for the vet is, if she doesn't feel she really has the answers, because again, it's kind of a best guess sometimes, who would she recommend I turn to next? Are there specialists that they're in touch with? Do I need to reach out to Virginia Tech and see, is there someone there at their medical school that might be doing some sort of study or research on asthma and these flare-ups? So I'm hoping that if this vet doesn't have a wonderful answer and feel really good about it, I'm hoping that she can put me in touch with somebody who might help me do a little more research, because I'm sure my little mare is not the only one who's struggling, and I'm not satisfied to just kind of say, well, I've tried this and I've tried that, that's the best I can do. That's not good enough. She needs more, she deserves more, and I am dedicated to doing what I can. And so perhaps I can find her some sort of research-based program that is really trying to get to the bottom of some of this. I don't know, it's just thinking outside the box. I'm really happy though to report that Sweetheart does not have any signs of bubbles this morning. Those little black flies are after them today. I need to get the spray. She was kind of mouthing a lot like that. You could hear that there seemed to maybe be a bit of extra fluid in her mouth, but nothing too excessive. So for morning number 6, that's a pretty good sign. That's how it is though, right? When you have the vet coming or you take your kid to the doctor, all of a sudden their symptoms are gone. I'm happy though. I mean, I'm happy that if she has turned the corner and she's now feeling better, that's fantastic. But we still have lots of questions, and I'm really happy the vet's going to come out, lay her eyes on her. I'm sure she'll want to give her another full evaluation. She'll probably want to do more blood work. We've done so many of these on this poor little horse, but I know it's all in her best interest. And so I'm glad she's feeling better, and I really, really hope we can get some answers, or at least some leads. I am hoping that the vet does not suspect it's a hay issue. I mean, that's one fairly easy thing to cut out, but you can just see how happy these little boys are to be nibbling on a little bit of morning hay. They really do like it, and I guess I could always, just start separating Sweetheart out if that's what's needed, but I know they all really do enjoy a little hay. As I sit out here on my front porch, keeping an eye out for the vet, I am reminded that I also want to ask about supplements. I have done some looking around in our local, feed stores, tack stores, and I've also done some reading online that seems to point towards omega-3s being good for breathing and like immune support. And so I'm curious to ask our vet today if there are any certain supplements or compounds that she would recommend, maybe she's had some sort of success with. So again, you don't want to just be buying a bunch of supplements and throwing your money kind of at nothing. But if there is something that comes highly recommended and has been sort of known to find effectiveness, I'm willing to give it a try. So I do want to ask about supplements. The vet just finished up, and I'm really happy to say we have a new plan. We have some new medicines. And I am just really, really thankful for all of this wonderful, wonderful conversation that we had, because we talked about the stalls a little bit, and we talked about hay a little bit, and we talked, yes, about medication. So right now the plan is to really try to attack this flare-up and the inflammation on all of that extra reaction that she's been having. And so we have a new round of medicines that we're giving her right now to calm everything down. And then in a couple of days, once we finish with those new medicines, we are going to start her on a different daily antihistamine, and hopefully we'll have a little more success with that one. We had been using cetirizine, I think is how you say it, and it's just sort of been like a maintenance type of thing, and I'm not sure how well it had been helping. It had not been hurting though. And so we're going to try a different antihistamine and see if we don't have a little more success with that. So that was a really great thing. And again, our new plan of action is to really not rely on the Dex, but to use other medications, and the Dex would just be like an emergency case only. So I'm just really happy to have a new approach and to have just some new ideas that we can try, because so much of this is trial and error. Almost immediately after the vet gave her a dose of something, and I must admit, we talked about so many things, I don't recall what it was right off the top of my head, but she immediately really had a wonderful relaxation to her. Her nostrils and her abdomen were no longer flared or breathing quite as heavily and heaving. And so I know that she's really getting some relief from that, which is fantastic. She gets another round of, I believe, that medicine tomorrow. And then we'll start her on some new daily meds. There are also some other supplements that we spoke about, and the vet's going to get me some more information on those, and we'll see. I mean, I feel really good just knowing that we have a new plan and we're more than willing to modify and tweak it, and that's just really reassuring. The vet I just saw, she was saying that, she would not have called herself an airway specialist prior, to the summer, But for whatever reason, she keeps getting all of these cases, and now she's almost getting like intentionally funneled towards those cases. I've got a helicopter, hold on. What I was saying before that helicopter flew overhead is, this particular vet has really sort of been funneled towards all of these airway issues because she has been dealing heavily with them. And so just through the summer, she's pretty well steeped in this, which is fantastic because she's seen a lot of cases, she's tried a lot of different things, and she knows that with these airway issues, you just have to constantly be tweaking and kind of amending what you're doing and trying new things. And I'm just really happy to have someone who is on board for all of that, because everyone has their strengths and their weaknesses, and all vets specialize in different things, but without realizing it, this particular vet has really become the specialist in this area. So here comes little sweetheart. I imagine she's going to pass me by and go to the stall, as I suspected. I did speak to the vet about the stalls. I showed her them, and she said, you know what, they look perfect for right now. They're totally stripped. They're as clean as can be. There's no dusty bedding in there to potentially cause more issues or flare-ups. The stalls are well ventilated, being open, and you can see that large window here on the second stall. So she felt that they were perfectly fine to use as is. She did not recommend that we put any kind of bedding in them for several weeks, just to kind of let everything calm down. So that's good, because the horses really do want to hang out in there. We also spoke briefly about hay, because I know my young guys really do appreciate a little bit of hay. And she said that with Sweetheart right now, while we're really trying to like calm down this flare-up or these flare-ups that she's been having, if we give her hay, it should be moistened slightly just to kind of cut down on any kind of dust. I'll certainly feed it out in the open, not in the stalls. And so we'll see about that. I might hold off a few more days though, because there's still plenty of grass and her weight looks fantastic. The vet said, she was very happy with her weight. She's probably like a 5.5 though on the body condition scoring, the chart there. And so that's a good place to be, but she's certainly the top of it. We wouldn't want her any heavier, but the vet was not concerned about her weight. So right now it's a matter of maintaining. I think that might be all of the updates I have for you today. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you have enjoyed this journey, kind of following us along on this asthma flare-up. I'm feeling much better today, having just met with the vet, and I can tell that Sweetheart here is also feeling better. She's very peacefully resting in the shade. She's not feeling lousy, so that is a fantastic sign. Thanks again for joining. Check back soon, because I'm sure we'll have updates. And as we continue to monitor her weight as well as her meds, I will keep you apprised of that too. So have a great one, and check back soon. Bye guys.